Janerio is going to be our judge. Janerio has been a very, very active member for many years, ever since I've joined. He's been a fantastic member because he's a very talented photographer. He's very creative, always willing to try new things. And speaking for myself, when he tries something new, I think about trying the same thing, other than going underwater. That I will not do. But at any rate, Janeiro is one of only 7 master photographers, which is based on the number of ribbons you won in competitions. Only 7 are present currently at the moment in the club. He's one of those rare 7 master photographers in the categories we have. You can see more about Janerio's work and see some of his favorite photographs by going to our website and going to photography and then going down to masters, and you'll see some of his work, and I think you'll be impressed, like we all have been through the years. However, Janerio this year is taking a sabbatical from the club, not entering competitions, to the delight of some and to the dismay of others. So Janerio, we do have I'm seeing one clear new member here. Just briefly note, a little bit about yourself, and certainly all of us might learn something new about you as well, so we're all updated. So go ahead, Janerio.
I've been, yeah, like you said, taking a sabbatical this year. Let me turn this somehow. Yeah, I guess that's better. Taking a sabbatical this year, and just kind of been shooting on my own, just when the mood hits me, and doing some different stuff. I've been trying to do kind of projects. So I've been working on, I do a project and then I try to find another project to do. That's kind of what I've been focusing on this year. But my first love is underwater photography. COVID kind of put that on hold for a while, so I'm getting back into it this year, and hopefully to make it more of a big thing. So I'll be doing more of that hopefully in the next.
Now, when did you join the club, Janerio? About what year?
I don't remember when I joined the club. I know it was the first club I joined, and at one point I was in the member of 4 clubs, and I was just driving all over town, and it's like, I got to stop this. So I just whittled it down to just this club.
I recall Janeiro joined 1 or 2 years after I did. So it was about 2007, 2008.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
And so I've been lately been doing just trying to focus on doing some projects instead of just shooting. I've been trying to focus in on something. I had a big project where I did a series of mushrooms. I was shooting mushrooms, a whole lot, mushroom shooting. And then I tried something, then I moved on to something else. And right now I'm kind of in between. Right now I'm practicing infrared photography. After the mushroom thing, I did water drops. So, but I'm just trying to get back to my root, to my first love, which is underwater, which is you can't shoot all the time. That's the problem with that.
Well, at least you can't get COVID underwater, so.
Well, it takes money to travel and shoot underwater. So.
Let's get started. Michelle, I'm going to send the time to you. You're a co-host. Let's go. Let's get going.
Okay.
Michelle, it's yours.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen. We're going to do a quick run through, 3 seconds per photo. And Janeiro, as you know, and everyone, we're not going to talk through this. It's just a first look. Then we'll go back and Janeiro can give us his critique. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Gotcha. Okay, here we go. That's it.
Hey, the second image you showed is black and white. It's not color.
Where's that?
Who's saying that?
Don,
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
It was
Second.
infrared. It was infrared, so,
Yeah. well, infrared means monochrome.
okay. All right, hang on.
Well, I've seen it, and I can judge it with the black and white. But you can go ahead
That
and
would
show.
be awesome.
Yeah, I can judge it with the black and white because I have it up on my screen here.
Awesome.
So I got the link,
Thanks.
so I can.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so when we get to the black and white, you might want to go back to it when we get to it or whatever, or I can critique it now. It doesn't matter. When I saw this shot, I liked it right off. It kind of has immediate impact. The fact that the eye of the bird is tack sharp, and so are the there's not dandelions. It's that cottonwood or whatever it is in his mouth, and it makes for a nice foreground subject. Other than, most of the time you see a bird on a branch or something. So this is somewhat different. Probably he's nest building right now, but it's a good, and the background is, it's a nice background, good separation with the bird, not distracting. And in this case, it wouldn't be bad to have a little bit more in focus background, but I like the background as it is. But it's nicely in focus. I might want to crop up a little bit from the bottom because you got an extremely large out of focus area in the lower left. The one near the middle on the bottom is not, it has just some detail in it. So, but the one in the lower left corner, it looks more like the background than the foreground. So you might want to crop up a little bit, or if you don't want to crop this image at all, maybe a little vignetting, especially across the bottom, maybe. But yeah, let's keep it in.
Okay, and Janeiro, I failed to say this is called American Goldfinch with Thistle.
Okay.
The next one, you can go ahead and critique this now, is called Butterfly Girl in IR.
Okay. I have seen a lot of IR this year. I mean, a ton. I was in the show up at Blue Ridge, and it was surprisingly a lot of IR. It seems to be something that's going on right now. There's a good separation with the subject matter, which is the girl. Wish there was a little bit more detail in the, not in the foliage behind it, maybe some separation between the flowers and the big leaves. But it's a pleasing image. I think in this, bleeding it out to white or gray instead of having the enclosing oval would have worked better than that, than having the line around the oval. So we'll not keep this one for the black and white.
Circles, stripes.
When I saw this, I immediately saw two pictures, two images. You got the glasses, the two tall glasses, and then you got the orb and the rainbow on the left. To me, the rainbow and the orb on the left is a much stronger image than the two glasses. And so I would probably make this two separate images. I think it would be stronger because with I'm looking at the little orb on the lower left. And if you see, it's got quite a bit going on. You got the orb, you got the swirls of the glass in it, but the glass also are picking up the rainbow color and swirling it around the spiral inside of the glass ball. And you were in the reflections. It's a much more interesting image there than with the glasses. It doesn't seem to work together. So I would probably, if I was the photographer, I would go back and reshoot this and just use the orb and lose the two glasses. Pass.
Okay. The next one is color drop.
This is a good example of great color, what you call it, color composition. The colors really work well together here. The water drop, it's a nice water drop. It's just the one that's coming up, that's called a Worthington jet. The pointy part coming up is a Worthington jet. And then you got the second water drop coming down, or it's separating from the jet. Usually one of those things happens. But I really like the colors. The only thing I would suggest is getting lower. So you're not looking so much down, although this is a nice image. I would like to see a little lower image than looking more straight at it and than this. But it's a nice image. We'll keep it in.
Okay. Cooling off.
This has a nice pastoral feel to it. The trees, or the branch, the one on the right and the large tree on the left and the branch on the frame the subject, and the darker tree on the right keeps you from going out of the frame, out of the picture. So it holds it in, especially against the lighter tones of the deer. I would like to see this in both. I like the filter that they use, but I'd like to see it also too without the filter. I'm trying to decide which I would like better, the filtered version or the unfiltered version of this image. I would probably darken down the water in the lower left just a little bit, just so it's not pulling your eye to that corner. But other than that, it's a nice image. Let's keep this one in.
Dahlia Pinata.
The background and this flower work perfectly together. The flower is where it should be sharp is sharp. You actually have three elements in this. You have the flower that has an open, and the leaf. And the two secondary elements are just barely out of focus. So they're not competing as much with the main subject, which is the open flower. So they're there. You can see exactly what they are, but they're just a little out of focus so they don't compete. They don't try to fight for attention. I believe if the leaf was totally in focus, it would fight for attention, but it's just enough out. And the background works beautifully with this. Let's keep this one in.
Dreaming.
When I saw this one, it's a nice image. I was wondering about the time of day. I kind of wish it was a little later in the day. It looks like high noon, or really up in that bright part of the day. I would pull down, I would crop down from the top, but it's a start of a story. It's the start of a story, and I think it could be dynamic. I would try shooting this again at a different time of day. I'll pass.
Exploring the ever-changing leaves. I apologize. This is so small. That's my fault.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got it on my screen too. When I saw this, I love the light behind the lady's head. I mean, it's just really nicely lit behind her. And And the only thing I wish it had was a little bit of rim light from that background around the hair, which would have been perfect. The only thing that is distracting from the subject looks like leaves surrounding the perimeter. I would lose that altogether. I think it pulls away and distracts from the portrait of the lady, which is a very nice portrait. She's wearing, the light colored dress, almost white, which contrasts with the shady forest and everything. So all that works. It's just that perimeter background going around the edges. I would lose that. And you could probably, if you got more of it, you could probably blow it up and crop that out. But that's your choice. Hey, but the thing is about this, you tried something different, something new. Sometime it works, sometime it doesn't, but you never know until you try. But I will pass on this.
Oops. I don't know what happened here.
You got to probably zoom back out to where it's normal size before you can go on. I know some programs do that. See,
Extreme symmetry.
when I saw this is really eye-catching. A lot of people do these, I call them symmetry images, but this one really pops. I mean, that blue and that yellow gold tone of the walls, perfect. And the nice thing about it, if you look at the surrounding area around the really blue area, you can see where the walls has a tinge of blue as it moves into the yellow. It really works, and whoever did this really worked hard at getting the symmetry right. It's just off in a couple little spots, which probably if they have a little bit more, it could be fixed. But I think the thing that really pulls you into this image is the blue, but also if you the black lines that run between the panes radiate out, and they radiate out all the way down through the columns and the wall and the brick and out. And that just really pulls you in. Let's keep this one.
Fish facade.
When I saw this, I kind of got a feeling I know where it is, but I'm not sure. It's an interesting concept. I have to applaud the person who took this. I mean, to see this and have an eye for it, because it's something that most people, and probably myself, would have just walked on by and never noticed. But it does set up an interesting image. I don't know if it needs to be a little lighter or what, but let's keep this. Let me come back and look at that. Let's keep this one.
Okay. All right, y'all might need to help me here. Janerio Glacier.
Close enough for government work.
I made notes myself last night, couple days ago.
It's FFJ, Janeiro.
Okay. Yeah, I called it the mountain with car, so I just made some quick notes for myself. The clouds are interesting. It tends to be just a little flat. I think if you're using Lightroom or something, you might want to just like one tick of the dehaze slider might work, might add a little touch to this. Just seems to be just a tinge flat on it. I like the fact that you didn't put the road dead center, which most people who would have taken the shot would have put the roadway dead center of the image. It's kind of nice having it offset and everything, but it's lacking some impact. And so it's a nice travel log image, but I think I'll pass on this one.
Got ya.
Now this is a person who who shoots animals. Most of the time when people shoot animals, they're just kind of shooting the animal, and there's very little interaction. The fact that these have interaction between these two is great. I wish that the fox that was getting his tail bit on was showing some kind of reaction, but he's just kind of like, whatever. Just can't land there. I wish he had more of an emotion to him, but it's a nice shot. Let's keep this one in.
Heaven's Gate.
This is another well done symmetry image, and I've tried doing this myself, but never this well. I've never been able to do anything this nicely. Interior architectural shots, very hard to do. It's well lit. I don't know. It's very well lit. I don't know what the shutter speed and the aperture was, but it looks very sharp, almost all the way through the organ pipes. A little bit more depth of field, you probably could have got the organ pipes in a little bit sharper, but other than that, it is very well done. It's not too dark in the shadows. Well lit. Let's keep this one.
Hi, Billy.
Oh, Billy Goat. It's a shot of a goat, but I wish the eye, that's the first thing, I noticed that the eye doesn't seem quite as sharp. I don't know if that's the way goat eyes are, but it just looks not quite sharp to me. So whenever you're shooting animals, and I've actually taken pictures of animals before, and the shots were great, but the eye wasn't sharp, so I throw them away. So I'm gonna pass on this one.
Okay. Hot and Cool Lily.
I like the lily. I like the colors. The lily that hasn't opened in the background mimics the shape of the petals of the lily that's open, and you seem to have some detail in some of the petals and leaves. But I don't know if that's a filter you've applied to this. It looks a little grainy, that a little noise in it. It may be added noise was added, or it may be the filter or blown up too much, but it's a nice shot. But it needs to be sharp in the dead center of that main lily there. So I'm gonna pass on this one.
Keyhole.
Reminds me of something from the Lord of the Rings or something. It's a nice image. I think it was shot at the wrong time of day. Because I think if you shot this a little later, it would have an air of more of an air of mystery to it, which I think. And I don't know if I know you're trying to get the walkway in and then the keyhole, but I wish there was something in the keyhole that would bring me in. Yeah, there's nothing there in that keyhole that brings me into the image. It makes me focus there. If it was like a peak, like a mountain peak, a really sharp mountain peak there, it would work much better. So I'm going to pass on this one.
Love on the Cliffs.
This is a shot. I wish it looks a little soft. The feathers look a little soft. I don't know if the photographer did that on purpose. When I see birds, sometimes I like to see some feather detail in it. And and in this image, if you can't get catch light in the eye, I would even add the catch light in the eye in this instance. But I'm looking for something that draws me in right now, but I'm not sure about this one. I'm gonna pass on this.
Okay. Monarch in a field of wildflowers.
When I saw this, I thought this was a great shot. It even added when I saw the bumblebee down there, the flowers, like they're flying in the same direction. You caught them both in mid-flight. Most people don't shoot butterflies in flight. Most of the butterfly shots I see are the butterfly sitting on the flower. Here's one in mid-flight, and it works really well. The background is perfect. I mean, that butterfly just jumps right off the image. The only thing, it's a little odd format. I think I would crop it up from the bottom of just a little bit, crop down from the top. That way I could, you know, make the subjects a little larger. You wouldn't lose too much. You wouldn't lose that nice background. I would just come down on the top and come up on the bottom a little bit. And, but it really works. I mean, I love that butterfly. Let's keep this one.
Moody fall.
This is a very nice shot. I don't know where Moody Falls is. It's got kind of a blue-green tinge to it, which helps with this because it gives you that impression that you're in a kind of a dark forest and everything. The fall is nice. I've taken waterfall pictures before too, but I typically I bracket the shutter speed because sometimes I can go too far with the long shutter speed and the water just loses detail and everything, because at the bottom of the fall in this one is just white. At the bottom, it's just a white blob. So I think if you just slow the shutter speed down, I mean, not slow it down, but a little faster shutter speed, you would have probably picked up a little bit more detail in that water pool where the water finally splashes down. Because right now it's just all white. Above that, it's not really bad, but I would play with the shutter speed a little bit more. When I first started shooting waterfalls, I always went way too long with shutter speed. So sometimes, but in this one, I think I'll pass. When I saw this, I thought it was very creative. Very creative. I guess those are water drops. But what I would like to see which I think what I need is on this one, and this was probably somebody made this stage shot. I would have put another light colored leaf on the left because you've got one on the right, you got a dark one in the middle. If you'd have put a light colored leaf on the left, you could have used that as a framing, because right now it kind of runs on the left side, it kind of merges all into one. Or I would bring up the shadows on that leaf on the left. But other than that, it's a very creative shot. You left a little color in the stem on the leaf in the middle for some reason. I don't know why, because everything else is black and white, the leaves. But it's creative. Well, I think it may have even worked even a little better if you'd have had like raindrops or something, just not just on the leaves, but on the concrete too, and you could do the same thing, a few more. But I think it's very creative, but I'm going to pass on this one.
Oops, I didn't learn my lesson, I guess.
Yeah, you got to zoom back out.
Save
This-
some for us.
This is a very interesting shot, comical shot almost. Looks like it was filmed somewhere in Florida. The birds have a lot of color in it. I don't know if I'd have included all the birds in this. It's just, I mean, this is the photographer's choice, and I'm just making my opinion. This picture would work even with one bird. The big blue bird, the first one, you could crop it at that chair and then have the lady in it, not have a pano, and this image would still work. And by cropping it from the left and just including one bird, you get rid of that bird that has his head turned away, which looks like a bird missing a head. And it moves that center post from the center of the picture. So I'm gonna keep this in because I'm gonna think about it. Let's keep this one in.
Okay. Seljalandsbos. Sorry about the pronunciation.
Yeah. This is one of those waterfalls. I don't know where it is. It looks like it's somewhere in maybe Ireland or Scotland or something, maybe. It's that the sky has a few places in it along the sky where the white tend to be blown out. And this is an image where you probably could have bracketed and then just then painted in the sky that had the correct exposure, and then had the rest of it as the exposure you have. It's hard to shoot something that's dark like this, that rock and then exposed to that sky. So sometimes, especially if you're on a tripod, shoot the sky, then shoot the thing again, and then you can paint it in. Yes, it's kind of a composite, but not quite a composite. It's just the same image, but you just have to do that. This is an image where the shutter speed is perfect because this shutter speed shows the power of the water. If you'd have had a very extremely long shutter speed on this, you would lose the power and feel of that water coming over that cliff. So it was a good choice on this shutter speed here. And you can barely, and for the first time looking at this, there's a guy standing to the back side of the waterfall in there that I just noticed. Gives it some scale now. I knew it was big, but you can even tell now it even gives it scale. He's got white pants on. I would increase, you might look at just a notch on the saturation and clarity. See this green down here in the bottom right corner? Yeah, that's nice color. That's nice light there. But I'm going to pass on this one. But yeah, it's a very difficult shot to make because you got moving white water and clouds, and you got a dark background subject to do that exposure. I'm gonna pass on this. When I saw this, I did catch the, the bright light coming over the building was the first thing I saw. And then I moved down and I saw the angel wings on this. This is a very creative shot. It didn't say it was a composite, so maybe she is an angel. But I think this would have been an even stronger image if there were people milling about on the boardwalk with her, and she would be the only one with wings. Wouldn't that say something, kind of like, here are all these people and there's an angel amongst us? Kind of make a strong statement there. But I did enjoy looking at this image, so let's keep it in.
still life.
When I saw this, I was like, I like this. This is not typically something that would catch my eye or my type of photography, but when I saw this, it's like, oh, this is really nice. I would suggest the person, if they can go back here, go back and take it at a slightly different time of day or something that had a better sky in it above the plants. And I just wish there was more plants. This would have been a gorgeous shot if this thing had been overflowing with flowers over the side. This would have been, that would have been a gorgeous shot. This is still a good shot. This is one of those shots that you might even play with the saturation a bit, not with the flowers so much, but with the blue and the truck. You might just play with it. I wouldn't go overboard, go crazy with it, but just see what happens. And in the flowers, I don't know if I could saturate those at all, but I'd leave them as it. But that's just me. But it is a good eye. Whoever took this, congratulations on a good eye. Let's keep this in.
Okay, the next one is a composite called Stripe Stop.
When I saw this, it's like, is this the bean in Chicago covered with stripes? That's what I thought it was when I first saw it. I still don't know what it is. It's really an interesting, you have to look at it for a long time and kind of figure out what's going on. It's a well done shot. I think I would crop down on the top. I don't know if you need all that blue at the top. This is a shot that might benefit from a little, make the lady's dress pop a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. Not quite sure, but I'm gonna pass on this.
Thunder Moon rises over Salt Pond on Cape Cod.
Okay. It looks like they went out on the night of the supermoon. This might be a supermoon, which I've never been able to shoot well. I've deleted every one I've taken. It's nice that this was shot at this time of day or evening instead of waiting till it was totally dark. I don't think this would have worked with a black sky unless you did some light painting. But it is an eye, it does catch your eye and keep you looking around. You got three elements. You got the moon, then you come down from the moon to the house, and then you come over to the bird that's in the water. So you do form ways to move around the image. So let's keep this one.
Tolerance Bridge Blue.
At first, it's like, is this the St. Louis Arch? But there's no bridge running through the St. Louis Arch. And this is someone tried something new. I like the arch. It's the I'm not quite sure about the railing that's in the foreground. I'm on the fence there with that, but technically it's pretty good. It's hard. I mean, the lights underneath the railing there, they're very difficult. It's very difficult to shoot, especially when you're trying to get enough light for the rest of the image and not blow those out. So, but I'm not quite sure about this one. So let's keep this in for now.
Vines with.
This is the start of something that of a fall image that I'm not quite sure where they were going. I know the subject is this, or I guess those are maple leaves. Not, those aren't maple leaves, oak leaves. Those are oak leaves in the middle. It's real. This is an image that you could play with and do some abstract stuff with it. And it may even, or using some type of topaz filters, and this would really kind of work. I would play with that. As it is now, it's an image that doesn't draw me in as much, but the colors are very nice. They're somewhere between being muted and saturated, and they fall in that, right in there. And the purple tint is a nice touch. So, but you know what, you might darken the edges. I think that would help pull this together a little bit if you do a vignette of darkening the edges. But I'm going to pass on it.
The last one, white stork reflection.
This was unusual because usually people, when they take a picture of a bird, they try to get the bird in with the reflection. And this time they just like, the hell with the bird, I'm just going to do the reflection. It's very nicely done. I think I would pull up the crop from the bottom up. I don't think you need all of that at the bottom. And I would crop in from the right a little bit on this one. And I think that will make it a stronger image, because if you crop in from the right and the bottom, you just get the 3 raindrop rings at that top. There's 3 rings there. They kind of draw your eye. I see 3, and then you got the 3, and then you have 3 intersecting rings coming toward the bird. So other than that, it's an interesting shot, and it's something that I probably would not have done. But kudos for seeing something and doing something different. But I'm going to pass on this one.
Okay, time for black and white. Oops.
Can I interject something while you're changing over?
Yep.
Helene, you can interject anytime.
Well, I was just going, before we went to the standing room, Janerio, you joined in 06. Let's see what month that, no, it was, I'm sorry, you joined Janerio Morgan. You joined the club in, if I can find Morgan again, October of 06, and Jim Harrison, you joined in February of 06. We made a printout back in 2013, and while we were in between, I ran and got the list. So just to catch you up.
And just as an aside, Helene is a co-founder of the club. She started the club 51 years ago, something like that. Just a few years ago, kind of 51 years. She is a super duper emeritus, so she can interject anytime she wants.
Okay, Janeiro, you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, first one is a walk on the beach.
I still see a bird.
Yeah, me too.
Unless you're talking about the bird walking on the beach.
Nope, it's still the last color.
We're still in color.
No, we're in black and white now.
No, we only see color, the color images.
I'm wondering if you gotta stop sharing and come back in. I don't know.
Okay,
Zoom, I don't know. Zoom does some weird things sometimes. Yeah, there you go. And then share again and pull up the color.
right.
I mean the black and white.
You see black and white?
I see it now, lady on the beach.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, where is the bird? I don't see a bird.
No, it's no bird in this shot.
You need to do the silent run through.
Oh yeah, silent run through. Okay, I apologize. The two that were in color are actually, I failed to put the black and white version in. Generic,
I got the black and white. The link you sent me
okay,
has all black and white. So
awesome.
yeah, I've actually gone through last night and today and looked at them all. So
Awesome.
yeah, I know what the black and white looks like.
Okay, cool. So this one is A Walk on the Beach.
Okay, this one, it's a nice shot. I wish there was a little bit. I like the layered color. You know, you start with the dark area at the bottom kind of holds it. It's kind of an anchor. Then you got the light, the light color of the water, lighting, serving as a background for the lady in silhouette. And she's not completely she's in silhouette, but there is some detail in the shadows of her, which is nice. And then you have the next band of dark color. I just wish that the dark color, the dark band above her had a little bit of detail in it. It's rather heavy, and it's kind of like this weight above her. I wish it had a little bit more detail in it. And then you go back, and then the noise texture that's in it, I'm fine with that. I don't know if that was in the original picture because it was a low light shot or it was noise added back into the shot. But the noise is fine with me on this one. Let's keep this one for now, and for consideration later.
Okay. Ataraxia.
Well, I should have looked that word up, but I don't know what it means. Anorexia, or is that a place? This is an image I haven't quite figured out. It looks like some lava rock and reflection in a lake and a scene. It reminds, it's very stark, especially the white at the top. I don't know if I would have cropped that down and pulled it down and got rid of some of that. Obviously, the photographer saw something here, and I've been in this boat before where I see things that other people don't see, and they don't work for other people, but they work for the photographer. I would say if a photographer likes this, keep working at it, keep doing it. I would. It reminds me almost of something from the Twilight Zone, puts me in that mood, but I think I'm gonna pass on this one.
Atrium art.
I am not a architectural photographer. I know there's someone in the club that's probably really good at it. I won't name names, but there's somebody in the club that's very good at this. This, I like this. I like the shapes. It works well with the shapes. One thing I think I would have done differently, the circle on the left side, the white perimeter, I would have tried to get all of that in instead of clipping it off. So you have this complete circle, but you got this circle, and then you got another circle, and this outer circle is clipped. I would have liked to see a complete circle on that. And if possible, rotate around so that you would shoot in between the columns instead of having that one column going up through the center. It works because, you know, you got two diagonals coming from two different directions. But I almost like to have seen that thing, a chandelier or whatever, as a full circle. But the shades from light to dark, nice subtle tones going from dark to light, and doesn't look like you're blowing out. Let's keep this one in for consideration.
Beehive Basin.
This is something I'll have to applaud the photographer on this. This is, I've tried to do black and white landscapes, but not successfully, not like this. This person, they got separation in the trees from the rest of the background. They have detail in the shadows of the trees without getting too blocked up. You have the creek that's leading in. Maybe you might want to lighten it up just a bit, but I see up in there where the snow is, it's a little lighter, so it pulls you into those mountains. So basically you start at the bottom with the creek coming in, but up there where the snow is, it is a little lighter. So it actually pulls you from the bottom to the top of the image. The sky is nice. Let's keep this one in. When I first saw this, I had to, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Best friend.
When I first saw this, I was like, what am I looking at? And then I looked at it again. Very creative. Very creative. I don't know how you did it. It is quite well done. Let's keep this in.
Bighorn sheep.
This is an image, I think it's well done in the fact that it's well exposed, especially with the snow. It's very hard to shoot snow and not have the snow turn, you know, completely white and blown out. The snow has, even the snow has detail in it, and the shadows are nice. I just think I think this shot could have went a couple of ways. One, maybe landscape. It looks a little close to the right. And since it's a bighorn sheep, maybe you might want to show a little more of the environment. You pull back. If it's a zoom lens, pull. This is where you take a lot of shots and you pull back and you get some of the rocks that are in at the top. So you pull in some of the environment. You got the snow and then you got the rocks. And, you know, this is a bighorn sheep up in the mountains. And I think you still could have had the sheep large enough in the image to work. Or you could even have done the sheep as a headshot, as a portrait. You know, maybe you didn't need the whole body of the sheep in. And then you could do the sheep head as a portrait and get a little lower, and then you could have that mountain and the snow in the background as the background to a portrait shot. But it is technically a well done shot. I'm going to pass on it.
Black Church of the Buddha.
I know it's a church, but I must say it's a spooky looking church. After looking at this a while, I thought, this is an image, you know, some people don't like to flip images, but this is an image you might want to flip. That way you're coming into the viewers coming in through those arches to the church. Right now, I'm going to come into this image to the church, and I go out through the arches on the right, and I don't come back. So this might be an image that would benefit from flipping, and that's up to the photographer. You can try it. I know some don't like doing it. The sky works really well with this. And I was thinking, if this sky, if it was windy, if the clouds were moving, this is a perfect opportunity where you shoot it like this, and then you put a variable neutral density filter on it and shoot it at a long exposure with those wonderful clouds streaking through the sky, and that will give you another look. But let's keep this. What's well done about this, they have detail in the roof and the sides without getting too blocky. I mean, it's perfectly exposed for a black building.
Black-backed gull.
This bird jumps right off out of the image. I mean, you got this background that's out of focus. You know it's waves. You can tell it. You can still tell it's water without getting too soft. And the image of the eye is tack sharp. And that eye is being even as small as it is in the image, jumps out of the image. And there's some detail in the feathers. And the other thing is, I don't know where you were, but maybe up on a cliff or something like that. But, you know, a lot of pictures of birds, you see from the bottom. And here's one from the top, which has been done before, but most people shoot them from the bottom on the land. They're underneath the bird. So this is a great shot. Let's keep this in.
Folded facade.
Great geometry. Nice shot of architectural geometry in this shot. Hard to do without, and you got the highlights right, because this appears to be all metal. It's so easy to blow out the highlights when you're shooting something that's metal and everything. So let's keep this in.
Into the night.
I've only tried shooting a lighthouse once, and I must say it is not easy. It's not easy. Here, I think they applied a filter. It looks like a posterizing filter. I like the body of the lighthouse. The light in the lighthouse I wish there was a little bit more detail in it. It looks a little blown, a little overblown. I think if the filter had been backed off a little bit, I like the leaves, the branches around it and everything. It works really well. But I'd like to see this maybe processed a little different way. I'm going to pass on it.
Okay. Light outside of darkness.
Okay, here's someone who's getting creative on a tabletop or something. Don't know where it might be outside. I was trying to determine if this was light painting or were they using acrylic, fiber optic acrylics and running light through them and doing the pattern. Don't know, but whatever you did, you did a good job. And but whatever you did, you got the lights, you got the reflection in the bulb, so that was all done at the same time. So very, very well done. You got detail on the inside of the light bulbs, the light bulb filaments. I wish there was more interest, as much interest in whatever the bottom was, the floor or the ground that the bulbs were sitting on as the lights. I think I'm going to pass on this one, but very creative. I would keep working at this.
Nature's sculpture.
This is probably Driftwood Beach. Its wood looks, I love the texture in the wood. It looks, I don't know, it looks, even though the tree is dead, it still looks alive, you know? Just the texture, it looks like it's flowing and moving, even though it's not at all. I wish it looks, I think it needs, I think the shadows are okay, but for some reason it's missing some contrast somewhere, and I can't really put my finger on where it is in it. It needs a little pop, something. It looks just a teeny bit flat. Maybe that was the intention of the photographer, and that's fine. The boat in the background is a nice touch because the two branches at the bottom of the tree are kind of pointing up to it. So let's keep this.
Norwegian life on the water.
Very good detail in this shot. Everything is sharp. That needs to be sharp, except, you know, the background does not need to be sharp, but everything in this is sharp. That needs to be sharp. The shingles on the roof, all the way down to the water's edge, the brickwork, the stonework, it's all sharp. The only thing I would try, this is one thing, this is another image I think I would try to flip, because right now I come in from the right. Remember, in the Western thought, we read left to right, top to bottom. So that's kind of how we come into an image. You were born in Asia, you do just the opposite. But here I come in from the left, and there's not much to see. And then I get to the end, and then I keep going. Here, to flip it, you come into it. It's a toss up. After I think about it, it's a toss up. But yeah, I got to see a little bird on the chimney there too. So it's a nice shot. Let's keep this.
Old house.
Here is, I know a lot of people photograph old structures. I wish the clouds had a little bit more into or more dynamic. It's kind of a fuzzy sky, but what in this one, around the leaves, not the leaves, around the branches and the trees, there's just a tiny hint of a halo. When you process it, always look for that I've got a few pictures that have that suffer from that. I love the picture, but it always bothers me when I see a halo effect. And around some of the branches and the trees in the background, you start to pick up a little halo. I'm gonna pass on this one.
Ripples.
This has kind of a almost like somebody draped a cloth over something. I think what what I'd like to see in this one is at the bottom left corner, you start to see the highlights in the water. And I guess the water at this moment was pretty much dead flat calm. So the water now just turns out to be a black band at the bottom. And it would almost be nice to have some detail, maybe pull up the shadows in the water, see if you can pull a little out of that. And I start to see, looking at it, I'm starting to see a little bit of reflection down there where the mountain meets the waters. But I think but the water's so dark, it disappears. So maybe if you could lighten that up just a bit. I can see the trees on the ridge lines, and they're nice. But I'm trying to figure out the overall what subject you're trying to convey. So I'm going to pass on this one.
Now, this is the one that I screwed up, and this is really in black and white. But
Yeah, I got the black and white, and
This-
the black
this
and
is
white of
gone.
this. The black and white of this is the shingles in the background work. A nice detail. They have a nice textured background for the person. In this, you can start to see a little detail. I mean, very little detail in the face of the man. In the black and white version, that's completely black. That goes completely dark. And I think it's too much of the wafer board in the front, in the foreground here. And it doesn't work even in the black and white. That doesn't work. So I'm going to pass on this one.
this is also supposed to be black and white. My screw up. Roofers at work.
That's not the black and white I have. The black and white called Roofers at Work that I have is completely different.
Mm.
And the one that I have, let me see, I may be able to share. Let's go forward. Let's skip this one. Go to the end, and I will show you the black and white one that I have for this image.
Okay. The next one is sand tree.
Sand tree. The sand tree, it's one of those images that you can fall in love with or not. It's interesting that I think most people would have shot this and tried to get more detail. And I think the photographer in this instance just went the opposite. They wanted the graininess of the sand and everything in it. And they went to a lighter overall tone. And it almost kind of a very light tone, not a lot of detail. It almost looks like stone. It's an interesting shot. I'm going to pass on this one.
Okay, next one is sidewalk.
Very hard to shoot. Must have been shooting with a straight into the sun on this. It's a nice image of I think I would have pulled down on the top, cropped down from the top. I don't think almost to that tree, that tree where the sun's popping next to. I would have pulled down almost to that tree. The rest of the sky doesn't do anything because an image is called sidewalk. So your attention, even with the girl there, your attention is drawn to the pattern of the brick in the sidewalk, because the way the light's hitting it pulls out the pattern and the texture of the brick. So that's the point of interest. And actually the shadow of the girl on the bicycle, of the kid on the bicycle, adds to it. So you really don't need a lot of the upper part of the image. You could probably even crop down some of the tree there. But I'm going to pass on this one for the time being. Yeah.
Skylight.
Very graphic. That's the word I'm looking for. Very graphic in its nature. This would have made a good color or black and white. And here's the black and white. But if you'd had a lot of color in the glass and a bright blue sky or something, this could have made a very good color image also. I think it's cropped well. And see down at the bottom left, you're starting to pick up reflections in another building down there, which is a nice touch. But yeah, in this instance, I think I would have actually went in and cloned those lines in the center of the circle out. I mean, you could do it or not. That's up to the photographer. But this is let's keep this.
St. Simon's Lighthouse.
This image is similar to the other driftwood image. I think it's a little bit more, it's more dynamic than the other image, because in this image, you show some of the movement in the water coming up onto the beach. The other image, the water was dead flat calm. Here you have some water action around at the beach's edge, and the detail in this is well done. It's a little bit more dynamic sky involved. It's a lot more interest going on into it. And the way the lighthouse is framed in this image is really nice too. So let's keep this.
The Big Day.
The Big Day, very well done skin tones. I'm not a portrait photographer, but whoever did this did a nice job with the doing portrait photographers. Very nicely lit and everything. And the hair has nice highlights in it, not overdone. And at first, because I think because in the image of the actual girl, the hair is dark, but in the reflection, the hair is light. And it's probably just the way it's lit. Because I think there's a window behind the mirror. So it's lighting the other side of her head, which is being reflected in the mirror. So at first I thought it was two different women. It's just like, well, one's got blonde hair, one's got dark brown hair, but it's the same girl. Nice sepia tone. It's not black and white. It's just some very subtle sepia. Well done. The dress is not blown out because in the white dress. It's a well composed image. Let's keep it in.
The Boredom of Lighthouse Life.
Yeah, it does. That's definitely reflected in this. And I had a feeling this was a lighthouse when I saw it. Well lit interior. I mean, the interior is done well. It's hard, you know. Oh yeah, it's a nice image. Let's keep this in.
Vintage Light.
At first I thought, okay, there's a light shining on it. I think this is maybe not a composite, but definitely altered. After examining it for the second or third time. Well, I noticed it's unplugged, so there you go. But I think here, the thing that happened here is the light beam, or the cone of light coming from the light, is coming from the light. And the interior of the shade, light shade, is not really lit. And it would be more lit up. And the cone of light would be more from the light shade edges down than from the light itself, because that particular light, well, I don't think has a reflector in it. So, and I'm trying to figure out where I would tone down the highlights on the top of the lampshade, because everything above that is kind of on the darker side. So I think those two highlights, I would burn those two highlights down on the top right part of the shade. Other than that, it's a well composed image. It's a creative image. And I think we're always looking to do something creative, and even doing things like this, you know, you increase your post-processing skills. So kudos to whoever did this, but I'm gonna pass on this one.
Whirly.
This is one, if this is light painting, it's one hell of a light painting. And it may be flipped and mirrored and flipped and mirrored. I don't know. I think it's flipped and I'm not sure. At first I thought it was mirrored, but it's one hell of a light painting if it is. So I wouldn't even like to see this in color if it's in color, but let's keep this.
Okay, and that's it. And I'm going to sharing my frame. Janeiro, if you can show me what you have for roof.
Oh, let's go back to that one. Let me show you. Yeah, that one. Let me show. Let me show that.
You want me to stop sharing?
Hold on a second. Oh, there's the mono. Let me.
Yeah, for Janerio to share, you'll have to stop sharing.
Yeah.
And now Janerio's been made a co-host, so you can share right now.
I'm gonna. Okay, let me share. Just cleaning up the screen. Come on. Sometimes I think it doesn't want to work. There it is. Okay, now share. Come on. Every time I click on something, it jumps around.
We're still seeing your face with Janerio.
Yeah, every time I move my cursor onto the Zoom window and move it over a command, it jumps. It clicks away. Hold on a second. It clicks away. Let me.
I got it.
Let me try that. Okay, there we go.
Janeiro, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that makes me so mad at myself.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Yeah.
I saw this. I was thinking, modern day pyramid builders. That's. I love the sky in this. I mean, you just got these cloud. It almost like you got what photographers like to call God rays coming down, and there's just these clouds just sitting there over their heads, and there, you know, you got one guy in silhouette pretty much. The other one's, he's in silhouette, but kind of a lighted silhouette. And I thought it was a nice shot. I mean, most people walk by this, there's two guys working on the roof, you know, no big deal. You know, we just keep on going. But this was a nice catch here. I think what this one would be, I would actually crop up from the bottom and maybe crop out that gable that's coming out from the right side, right lower side, maybe crop that out or almost crop that out. Because I don't think all the way down, you have, it looks like they photographed the roof all the way down to the gutter. That I don't think they need. I would come up quite a bit on that and just have almost like these guys are on a peak, on a mountaintop peak. But what really makes this is the lighting behind these guys. You got this kind of this glowing light on the back side, these clouds there. It's just perfect timing. The only thing I would do on that second guy that's holding the rope up, it looks like it's got a bright something, probably a metal reflecting light. I would burn burn that down so it's not so bright. But other than that, I like the image. Let's keep it in.
Okay, you guys, I apologize for all these screw ups. All right, here we go. Hopefully this will be it.
Okay, we're good.
You see a little thing that says color?
Yep, you're good. Peter.
Okay. Oh, doggone it. I don't know what's going on. All right, hold on.
You're sharing.
We're just going to do this. So you won't be able to see the whole thing. Okay. Color.
You have a little strip at the bottom. There you go.
Well, I know, but every time I try to get rid of it, the other thing happens. Honorable mention. Shadow Bee by new member Tion Detre.
Yay.
Very good.
All right.
Always have
Yay.
a new member win. That'll make him, that'll be good. I love that. I love that. Totally love that.
Honorable mention, Monarch in a Field of Wildflowers by new member Stephen Matera.
Awesome.
Stephen, you're here. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for all the constructive critique. Thanks, Janeiro. I appreciate it. And this is a picture that I took in a nearby wildflower field. And I like to capture monarchs or butterflies in flight, because you see a lot of butterflies sitting on a flower, motionless and things like that. So I try to catch them in flight. That's what I did with this. Thank you.
Awesome. Honorable mention, Got Ya by Jen Cardinal.
Yay. Foxes are back.
Is Jen here?
Thought I saw her.
She was.
Jen, you're on mute if you're there.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, they were just racing around, and this guy caught her, and it was just kind of a split-second thing.
Are they your pets or something?
Yeah, good question.
What?
Are they your pets?
No, they're out in the wild. They're
Is this the same? Because you've had some other entries for them. Is that the same foxes from before?
Yeah, I've been shooting them for a few years. My goal is to eventually do a fox book. What I want is for people to see foxes, the sweet side and the funny side and the fun side, so they're not so afraid of them, and maybe gain some respect for them. That's my goal.
These are the same foxes year after year. You just keep them stunted.
No, they're all different. This year, unfortunately, I didn't get any this year. So hopefully next year, and then I need one more good year to find foxes, and then I can hopefully finish up my book.
What kind of lens were you? How close are you to these guys?
Not real close. I was using a 70 to 200,
Okay.
and I'm probably about 70, 80 feet away. I had to crop in close, so.
Yeah.
Now it's time to get that 300 millimeter lens.
Yeah.
I just got a 100 to 400, so.
Is that the Olympus?
No, it's a Nikon.
Okay.
She's got the manly lens. It's one
Yeah.
of the best ever made, the 100 to 400.
And does he actually have a black boot or is that a shadow?
Their feet are very black,
Okay.
and their eyes are a lot of times very blue. Their eyes as babies can be blue, green, amber, and then as they get older, they turn brown for the most part. But these babies, you can't, I don't know if you can really tell, but these guys had kind of bluish green eyes.
Yeah.
I can tell. Yeah. Very good.
Okay.
Foxes are back. There you go.
Third place, Dahlia Pinata by Vivian Lynch.
Yay,
Oh,
Vivian.
thank
Yay,
you.
Vivian, beautiful.
Yay,
Yeah,
thank
it's lovely.
you. This was at a lady's house. We did a workshop, and she had her garden was full of flowers. So she had some that were picked that we could. We picked our background, we picked our flowers, and we shot. So it was a workshop, and I just learned so much. It was just incredible. I had so much fun.
Free, free.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second place, American Goldfinch with Thistle by Steve Director.
Beautiful, Steve.
Beautiful. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, thank you. So it's amazing that these guys actually eat. First of all, can you hear me? Sometimes I have trouble with my microphone.
Yeah.
Loud
Yeah,
and
okay.
clear.
So it's amazing that these guys eat thistle. Who knew? But they do. And I was fortunate to be able to capture this animal while she, not sure, was looking at me. I was pretty far away. I was using a 600 millimeter lens in APS crop mode. So it's the equivalent of an 800 millimeter lens. And managed to hold it steady enough to get a pretty sharp image.
So they're eating the thistle?
They're eating it. They feed on these things. Yeah.
That's
They don't
unusual.
look, they don't look very nourishing, right? But
No, I thought it was nesting or something.
no. They come in and sit there and chew away.
Okay, we ready for first place? Extreme Symmetry.
Oh, yes.
Mike?
That's mine.
Oh,
wow.
great, Mike.
Yeah, that
Where
was
is it?
Indiana State Capitol building. That's
Oh.
the dome. Underneath the dome, Indiana State Capitol building. Helps to know somebody high up in Eli Lilly, and they know state legislatures. So I got a pass to get in. Well, on a weekend where it wasn't crowded at all. So I used to get this shot. I took a bunch of shots. It's a beautiful building. It really is. It's quite striking. You'll see some more of that building in the future. But I used a Gitzo tripod, very sturdy, the ones you can spread out and hit near the bottom of the floor. Used a 20 millimeter lens, f8, and this is a HDR, but I only shot 3 images to get the HDR and combined the 3. And then articulated screen on the Fuji X2 really made a difference because otherwise it'd be guessing kind of. So I could see what I was looking at with the articulated screen, and that really helped a lot. And so just took it and took it and took it until I got everything the way I wanted it, and that's what I got. So,
Beautiful.
Question, Mike. The lighting is just remarkably even across the image. So what was the lighting like? What time of day? Where's the light coming from?
this was the middle of the day on, I think it was a Sunday actually. So you know, they're not working on Sunday, so unless they have to, and so it was kind of empty, which is nice. And so there's plenty of light out there, but it's pretty well lit actually. I mean, it's really quite well lit. So top to bottom, so it's darker when you actually look at it than real image. That's why I had to HDR it, but it's pretty well lit actually, Jim. It's a beautiful building, and they like to show it off. That's for sure. I'm blown away how beautiful it was. I mean, here I am from Indiana, lived my whole life, and now I discovered something really cool right next to where I used to live. So,
Gorgeous shot.
Beautiful, Mike.
well, the architect gets most of the credit. So there you have it. Thank you.
Mono, ready?
Go for it.
A Walk on the Beach by Vivian Lynch.
They're cool. Thanks.
Beautiful.
Guess who that is? Do you know who that is? Walking on the beach?
You?
No, it's Robin Davis.
Oh,
Okay.
I did a workshop with her in St. Simon's, and it was so
Okay.
wild. It was early in the morning, and she winded up changing her clothes in the parking lot and put this on, and we had to shoot, and we had no idea what we were going to shoot. She was just surprising us. So it was just shoot whatever lens you had or whatever you had on you. And it was just so much fun. It was just totally out of character.
Vivian, I remember Janerio commenting on the grain, I guess particularly at the top. Was that just there part of the image? You add that, or what's the deal on that?
No, that's just part of the image. So
Okay.
you've got the rocks, and then you've got sand, and then you've got water, and then you've got, because of tide, the way the tide comes in and out, and even what he said with the dark above her, I might try to lighten that a little bit, but really the image, this is exact. I did very little on editing this, so I might try to, that one layer right above her, I might try to lighten that a little bit, but really I didn't do a whole lot to this image. But it was a blast.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hey. Sorry, I didn't mean to just jump in. But I was actually just joining. I was a little late. This day has been a little crazy.
Who is this?
Better late than never.
This is Tion. My name is Tion. Actually, I just joined. It's nice to meet you guys.
Pleasure
Hi,
having
Tion.
you.
Nice
Real
to
pleasure.
Tion, you actually won an honorable mention for Shadow Beat in the color category.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Was that what time did you guys start?
7:30.
7:30. Okay, yeah.
The competition part really didn't start till like 7:45, a little bit later.
Okay. Huh. Awesome. Oh, thank you.
We're in the
Congratulations.
middle of announcing the mono.
Okay. Yeah, I love this image, by the way. This is incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, the next and last honorable mention is Black Church of Boudier. Steve, director.
No, thank you. This was taken in Iceland. And this church it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like most of the little churches, they either have black churches or white churches, and they're all in the middle of nowhere. And what made this one special was the sky. It was kind of an overcast day, and bringing out the texture of the sky, I thought helped set the mood for this particular image. So thank you.
Very beautiful.
Love the tonality in this, Steve.
Love it.
Yeah. Is this one that you've entered before and kind of reworked it a little bit?
I have entered it before, and I did rework it. Didn't do as well before. So
Yeah.
I'm
You
glad.
you got it just right this time.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
I mean, yeah, the getting not getting that wood, that black church too dark. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's easy to get it's black, right? So you
Yeah.
have to be careful, otherwise you don't get any texture.
Yeah.
And getting the right amount of contrast in the white so that there is you see some texture in that as well. It's Janerio, your idea about flipping it around is an interesting one. I've done that on some images, had not thought about doing it on this one. But,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
different parts of the globe going left to right, right to left, it changes. So,
yeah. And if you're in
Beautiful.
Israel, it goes right to left, by the way.
Yeah, I made that comment for the benefit of the new members that are part of this, because you know, when you listen to the judges' comments and improve your images, you get ribbons.
not always.
Well,
Steve, I
that's-
love that. I love that gate that's leading to the cemetery. But how do you get to the church?
No, the church, I mean, the gate goes into, that's an entrance to the front of the church. And the cemetery, you see the little crosses kind of in the background. They're all within the stone wall, which encompasses the church.
It's a
Yeah, I
little
just figured
deceptive.
that out. I just figured that out, that the wall is a wall. It's not like a wall filled with dirt, even, you know, height of the ground behind it.
No, it's a wall,
Yeah.
stone wall.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I get it.
It's kind of having an illusion.
The church is not up on a platform.
Where is this? Where is this?
Where it's in Iceland. It's outside
Yes.
of Reykjavik. Yeah.
Just beautiful.
Thank you.
What were your camera settings?
I actually have that up. I thought it might be as this was at 1/25th of a second, f/16, ISO of 450, and it was
Nice.
shot with. I was using a 14 to 24 millimeter lens at 20 millimeters.
Mhm.
Okay,
Very
so I'm sorry, go ahead. Third place, Roofers at Work, Steve Matita.
Yay, Steve.
Hey,
Hello,
thank you.
Steve. Excellent.
Okay,
Thank
congratulations.
you. I'm here. Yeah, this is one of the, this was taken last year. And last year, there was a hailstorm in my neighborhood. And all around me, this re-roofing work was going on. And it was, you know, we still had COVID and, you know, kind of moving around was, or traveling was not an option. So this gave me an opportunity to shoot these guys at work. And I have a whole bunch of pictures. And this is one of the shots that I like very much. It looks like modern day pyramid, just like Janerio told me, told modern day pyramid maker builders. But I was tempted to, call these cowboys on the roof. Because that guy, the guy behind it, he has a rope and he is trying to rope the guy in front of him. So
He
that's
really looks like he's about to throw the lariat. Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
that's just
yeah,
amazing.
you know?
Yeah.
Maybe he's a
so
serial
I
killer.
thought, I thought maybe I can title this as Cowboys on the Roof or something like that. But
Cowboys on the pyramid.
Cowboys on the pyramid, yeah. And I thought about cropping this image, and I may crop this. And one of these images I sent to a B&H critique session, And I think I sent it to Michelle, but she included the wrong one because I somehow got confused. And that B&H critique session that was selected, and I got they liked the I forgot the names of those two people who were critiquing, but they liked that image very much.
The sky makes this image.
I'm sorry?
The sky makes this image really
Yeah,
work.
yeah, that's absolutely correct. And I love the cloud too. Those puffy clouds and how the light is, everything about it, except that I wish that tree was not there, but I cannot.
Well, what I would do to minimize the tree, I would crop up from the bottom to where the second roof line comes in from the right.
Yeah.
From the right, I would crop in there, and you would get rid of most of that tree.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Well,
you definitely don't need the gutter line at the bottom.
That's right. I kept it in because I thought that will give a little bit of contrast from the shingles. That was the reason why I kept it in.
Well, it's a shot that celebrates labor, almost in a proletariat. I don't, it's a buzzword people use, almost like you'd see in a communist propaganda kind of thing, pro-labor, pro-regular people, proletariat concept, the way they're structured, almost look like statues on top of it. You might see one of those posters. Am I right? Yeah.
I do have a whole bunch of series whole bunch of pictures of these roofers at work. And, but the only thing, one of the things that struck me is these are people who are from the south of the border. And those are the only ones that they balance on these roof, walk like trapeze artists or circus artists. And it is amazing. Sometimes they don't even have any kind of safety line. And that is amazing to watch how they balance on these kind of steep roof and things like that. So, but to complete the story, I didn't get a chance to take the pictures or portraits of each of these workers. That's one thing I miss in that story. Yeah, I'm sorry. I probably spoke too much.
No, you didn't.
A great image.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
We're easygoing here. You can speak as much as you want.
Okay, thank you.
You'll get in trouble, but we're all in trouble, so never mind.
Yeah, no.
I like some of the tree on the left. I think that adds to where this not just a building somewhere.
Well, it adds to the height. Hey, this is up in the air.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I kept that gutter line there to give a perspective of how high is this roof, how steep this roof is, and to give that perspective. That's the reason why I kept that that gutter line there.
Well, this is a photojournalistic kind of photograph. You won't want to the tree anyway, so.
Okay.
I just leave it as it is. Crop it a little bit to your liking, but I wouldn't play with it on Photoshop.
Definitely do not touch the sky.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Second place, a big day, Jen Cardinal.
Oh, wow.
Jen?
She had to leave.
Oh, this is awesome. I too, Janeiro, thought it was too.
I thought it was two different people.
Yeah, one looks blonde and one looks like she's got black hair.
The profiles are almost different.
Yeah.
And I think, the profiles are somewhat different. And the profile on the right is more soft, and the profile in the mirror is more angular, and the hair is blonde.
Yeah.
I would burn a little bit of the background, make it a little bit darker, a little more shadows at the bottom, so the model pops out a little bit more. But that's the only thing that comes to my mind.
I think if I was doing this is a good shot. But I would have also done this shot without the mirror, so you just had window behind the mirror and then had kind of a high key image.
I'd like to point one thing here about the hair color. If you look at the hair color in the mirror, you can see two shades there. One
Streaks, yes.
darker,
Yeah.
darker and one lighter shade in the mirror. And so I think it is, it could be how the hair is colored, or, you know.
Well, there's a light, there's a window behind the mirror, and
That's right.
that side of her head
Yeah.
that you see in the mirror is catching the light from the window. That's why it's lighter.
Yeah, but that light looks like a little bit harsher coming through that window. There is a window behind the mirror, and well, it could be that. I'm not sure how, you know, again, how much processing was done to this picture. That also has to do something. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish he was here to comment on it, because, you know, you see how you're talking about light coming in and lighting her hair, but that side of her face is not lit. The opposite side of her face in the mirror is lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's the light from whatever light source she has on
the foreground.
This lighting the foreground portrait.
Yep.
Yeah, we can speculate, but we got to get Jennifer to explain it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, let me just
need an explanation.
Let me an interesting point. This is reminiscent of Vermeer's work. Here you have light coming from the left, which is very typical of Jan Vermeer's famous work. And he loved mirrors. And this reminds me of the famous, which was stolen years ago, the girl with the pearl earring. Now, Vermeer, though, would have shadowed her in the foreground a little bit more and created more shadow and more contrast to accentuate the softness. A little bit more shadowing, something Vermeer probably would have done if he had painted it.
Well, to me, the lace
this
on
just
her
is-
arm looks a little different from the lace on the girl in the mirror either.
Maybe it's the girl in the mirror. The girl in the mirror is from the multiverse. Okay.
It's merely a reflection of reality.
Maybe,
Yeah,
Maybe we'll have to explain this one.
Who got first place? Yeah.
So let's move on to first place. It is Black-Backed Gull by Daryl Neal.
All right. Congratulations.
He's
Daryl.
not here to explain it, but I'm betting this is from Iceland. And speaking of explaining it, I'm going to go back to Shadow Beat and let Tian talk about that since he wasn't here.
Yeah, the
thank
seagull
you.
picture was probably taken while the boat was going, so the seagull was flying along the boat as he was on the boat.
that was it.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. There we go. So this is one that we did probably about a year ago. It was up in at Pond City Market, and it was a lot of fun. It was an idea that I spent quite some time working on, and my specific field is called creative photography. So it's a lot of stuff you might see that looks very photoshopped, but the whole fun of it is trying to figure out a way to make it this impossible reality without using Photoshop. So this is one that I think we stayed up till like 2 a.m. I think it was my mom. She bought like a refrigerator or a chair or something, and I sketched out these like giant wings and then used a box cutter to cut out the shape, which is a lot easier said than done. And then we went out to Ponce the next day, and we cut them. We took them, and we used the panorama mode actually on my camera. And we went down, started at the bottom of the image, started to go up, and then when we got probably around to her feet, I told her to take them and fold them, put them in front of her, and then look up and out. And it just so happened actually that we were able to catch the sun also at the time of day that it was, so that her shadow was exactly behind her. Because if it had been even maybe like 10 minutes off, maybe like 20 minutes, it would have been slightly to the left or slightly to the right, which you didn't want. But this was the perfect place, perfect time.
That is a really, really cool use of the panorama function.
Thank you.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, really.
That's kind of the idea of creative photography that I kind of just fell in love with, was just the story behind it. It's always super fun.
The only thing the only other part of the story I would have changed is like, this is a catching shot, but I think if you'd had a crowd there, people milling about like on a normal day, this would have told us the story. It's like, out of the whole crowd, there's an angel. There's an angel watching over us. And these people, you have all these other people with casting shadows on the boardwalk, but this one person is casting angel wings. It'd be like the angel among us.
Yeah.
That'd been kind of cool.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting idea, and I'm kind of thinking about redoing it now.
Well, another thing to make it kind of even more mysterious is the environment. The buildings really aren't that important. So one thing to make it more mysterious is consider cropping it right above the knees, and that's all you see. And then you have this amazing figure in the foreground and so that might make it more mysterious. That's a subjective thing, but that would make it kind of mysterious. Like, wow, where'd that come from? That kind of thing.
So
thank you.
So you used a camera phone for this with the panorama mode?
I used the Sony A7 Mark II, and that has the panorama feature on it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gotcha. It took a couple tries, but and actually I noticed you mentioned location. So actually, it's one of the things about kind of that I love about photography is that the more I started about a year and a half ago, the more I go out and shoot and work with people and have these different ideas and concepts, the more the start idea never winds up as the end idea. Something always happens. There's always something that I have to accommodate for, adjust to. And at this point, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. Like, oh, what's going to go wrong this time that I've got to adapt to? And for this one, we actually had somewhere else in mind. And nowhere on their website do they say you had to pay to enter, but you had to. So we went to go find somewhere else, and we stumbled upon this place.
Well, Tion, let me just say that one thing I've come to the conclusion is not about the photography so much, or even the final image you acquire. It's about the experience that makes photography special.
Yep.
The experience that makes photography what it is. Without the experience, it wouldn't be as fun. So there you go.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, that's again just one of the many things I love about photography. It's just some of the friends, some of the people I've met while doing it. Some of the there we go. Hey.
Yeah, keep going.
Some of the friends I've made, the experiences, and pretty much behind like every image is always some kind of story, some kind of, like I said, adaptation, getting caught in the rain and using that to our advantage, or it's always no matter what image, you can just close your eyes and just point to one. There's more than likely a story behind it, which I love so much. So
love it.
I understand that, and I appreciate it.
Hey, also
Dion,
for new members,
sorry.
Cool.
It's
Yeah, it is.
too cool.
For new members, we are recording this, and then